Remember walking into Woolworths in the 80s? That magical emporium where you could buy everything from pick and mix to paraffin heaters, all under one gloriously chaotic roof. Today, we're diving into 17 things we desperately miss from Woolworths in the 1980s Great Britain. Did you know that Woolworths originated in America in 1879, yet became so quintessentially British that most people forgot it wasn't homegrown? But here's what nobody tells you. By the 1980s, the British Woolworths had been completely independent from its American parent. This British institution left 807 empty stores when it collapsed in December 2008, as well as our empty hearts. That bold red fascia with white lettering wasn't just signage, it was architectural punctuation on every British high street. The distinctive storefront, redesigned in 1985 to feature the shortened Woolies nickname alongside the formal name, became Britain's most recognised retail branding after Marks and Spencer. What made these shopfronts truly special was their sheer ubiquity. By 1986, you were never more than 6 miles from a Woolworths in urban Britain. The window displays followed no corporate template, leaving individual store managers to exercise creative freedom with limited budgets. Former employees recall using fishing line, cardboard, and extraordinary imagination to create seasonal displays. Those windows marked time better than calendars. Conkers meant autumn, selection boxes meant December, and beach balls announced summer holidays. The handwritten price tickets, always in black marker on fluorescent card, gave each store its personality. Unlike today's digital uniformity, these windows were analog theatres where minimum wage artists created maximum impact displays that drew children's noses to the glass every Saturday morning. The pick and mix wasn't merely confectionery retail, it represented democratic luxury where everyone could curate their personal selection regardless of budget. Those Perspex containers, manufactured by a company in Birmingham specifically for Woolworths, held approximately 100 different varieties at any given time. The pricing structure, consistently around 40 to 45 pence per quarter pound throughout the mid-80s, seemed reasonable until you calculated it equated to roughly £6.40 per kilogram, pricier than many premium boxed chocolates. The unspoken rules of pick and mix were universally understood. Heavy sweets at the bottom, light ones on top, and absolutely no mixing chocolate with boiled sweets. The small white paper bags, later replaced with pink striped ones in 1987, became currency in school playgrounds. Former staff confessed they were instructed to turn blind eyes to sampling because management understood it drove sales. The scales, perpetually sticky and marginally inaccurate, always seemed to favour the customer. What nobody mentions is that Woolworths pioneered self-service confectionery in Britain. Before pick and mix, sweets were served by assistants behind counters. Woolworths' music department was where British teenagers discovered their soundtrack. The chain was actually the UK's largest music retailer before Our Price's expansion, selling approximately 1 in every 5 singles during 1985. The cassette racks, organised alphabetically but perpetually muddled by browsing customers, offered everything from, now that's what I call music compilations, to obscure singles that nobody except completists wanted. The listening posts, those communal headphone stations, were social experiments in bacterial sharing. Connected to a central player controlled by staff, you could preview exactly 6 tracks, changed weekly according to the charts. The blank cassette section, kept behind counters due to theft, offered TDK Memorex and Woolworths' own brand tapes that claim 90 minutes but stretch to 92, occasionally eating your favourite albums. Staff used rudimentary anti-theft tags, essentially stickers that did nothing except shame honest customers when they forgot to have them removed. The department's layout never changed. Singles at front, albums along walls, and accessories in corners where nobody looked. If you're enjoying this nostalgic journey, hit that subscribe button now, because coming up, I'll reveal which Woolworths exclusive toy line became a collector's goldmine worth thousands today. The broken biscuit counter represented accidental sustainability decades before environmental consciousness became mainstream. Large wooden bins, lined with cellophane, contained factory seconds, damaged packets, and discontinued lines sold at approximately 50% discount. This wasn't marketed as ecological, it was pragmatic commerce serving budget-conscious Britain. Regular customers knew Tuesday mornings offered freshest stock, though fresh was relative when dealing with biscuits of indeterminate age. The sociology of broken biscuit shopping was fascinating. Middle-class shoppers developed elaborate justifications. For the birds, cooking ingredients, the children won't notice, while working-class customers felt no shame filling bags with perfectly edible bargains. Woolworths accidentally created Britain's first ugly food movement, proving that damaged packaging didn't diminish product quality. Staff members recall the section generated minimal profit but maximum footfall, drawing customers who'd inevitably purchase full-price items elsewhere in store. Woolworths' toy department operated on a simple principle. Everything affordable, nothing over £10 until 1989. This wasn't just pricing strategy, it was social levelling that meant every child could own something from the same store, regardless of parental income. The Chad Valley brand, acquired by Woolworths in 1988, provided own-label alternatives to expensive branded toys, though quality varied wildly. The seasonal toy catalogue, usually 32 pages of newsprint glory, arrived in October and became required reading in every household with children. Unlike the glossy Argos catalogue, Woolworths' version felt attainable. Former buyers admit they deliberately underordered each year's must-have toy, creating artificial scarcity that drove repeated store visits. The action figure aisle, dominated by He-Man, Transformers and later Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, saw more negotiations between parents and children than the UN. Safety standards were relaxed. Chemistry sets contained genuinely dangerous chemicals. Toy guns looked remarkably realistic, and small parts were everywhere. Yet somehow we survived, possibly because parents actually supervised children rather than relying on safety regulations. Those burgundy polyester uniforms introduced in 1983 to replace the previous brown were industrial-strength fashion crimes that somehow conveyed authority. Made by Courtaulds Textiles in Manchester, each uniform cost £14.50 but was expected to last 2 years minimum. Staff handbooks specified exact requirements: burgundy tabard or waistcoat, white shirt, regulation name badge positioned 2 inches below left shoulder, and sensible shoes in black or brown only. What distinguished Woolworths staff wasn't attire but attitude. These weren't temporary retail workers but career professionals who'd started as Saturday assistants and worked up through departments. They possessed encyclopedic knowledge of stock locations, prices without checking, and local customers' shopping habits. The infamous Woolworths shuffle, that particular way of walking that covered maximum ground with minimum effort, was taught informally to new starters. Many staff members stayed decades. Some stores had 3 generations of the same family working simultaneously. The pension scheme, considered generous for retail, encouraged longevity, creating institutional knowledge that modern retail has completely lost. Every August, the stationery aisle transformed into controlled chaos as parents equipped children for September's school return. Woolworths dominated the educational supplies market not through quality, but accessibility and price. Their own brand products, pencils, rubbers, rulers, were manufactured in British factories that employed thousands until cheaper imports arrived in the late 80s. The geometry sets, in tin cases, retailing at £2.99, contained instruments of questionable accuracy but unquestionable necessity. The humble Woolworths biro, available in blue, black and red, deserves special mention. Manufactured in Birmingham, these pens worked approximately 60% of the time but cost just 8p each, making them essentially disposable. The scented rubbers and pencils, introduced in 1986, caused classroom disruptions nationwide as children sniffed strawberry-scented erasers instead of learning. Profit margins on stationery exceeded 70%, subsidising other departments. The annual back-to-school period generated more revenue than Christmas in some branches. Teachers simultaneously despised and depended on Woolworths, knowing the quality was substandard, but understanding it enabled poorer pupils to have required equipment. Christmas at Woolworths began controversially early, late September, when other retailers waited until November. The transformation was total. Everyday departments vanished beneath avalanches of tinsel, baubles and artificial trees. Woolworths controlled approximately 35% of Britain's Christmas decoration market during the mid-1980s, selling everything from 99p paper chains to £9, 99p fibre optic trees that represented the height of sophistication. The Christmas lights deserved their reputation for unreliability. Sets where one failed bulb killed the entire string became annual tests of patience and electrical knowledge. Yet people returned annually, buying identical sets because they cost £2.99 versus £5.99 elsewhere. The artificial trees, ranging from 2-foot desktop versions to 6-foot deluxe models, shed plastic needles that embedded in carpets until Easter. Selection boxes, stacked in intimidating pyramids, offered dubious chocolate at irresistible prices. The Christmas music, played on loop from October, drove staff to near madness. Former employees report still experiencing traumatic flashbacks when hearing, "I wish it could be Christmas every day." Woolworth's garden section occupied a confused corner where horticultural ambitions met retail reality. This wasn't a garden centre, but rather a collection of vaguely plant-related items that somehow cohered into something useful. Seed packets from Thompson and Morgan, discounted because they were last year's stock, still grew because plants didn't read sell-by dates. The selection included everything from ant powder to apple trees, grass seed to garden gnomes, with no logical organisation. Spring brought optimistic displays of grow bags, tomato plants and seed potatoes that promised self-sufficiency but delivered disappointment. The tools were purely decorative: trowels that bent, forks that snapped and hoses that leaked immediately. Yet millions of British gardens contained at least one Woolworths plant that, against all odds, thrived. The pet supplies, inexplicably mixed with garden items, meant you could buy both goldfish food and lawn feed from the same aisle, though mixing them up had unfortunate consequences. Remember your local Woolworths? Drop your favourite memory in the comments below. Let's see which store gets mentioned most. Woolworths pioneered private labelling before it became standard retail practice. Winfield Electronics, launched in 1982, offered radios, cassette players and even primitive computers at prices that undercut established brands by 40%. What customers didn't know was these products were manufactured by reputable companies like Alba and Amstrad, simply rebadged for Woolworths. Quality was variable but generally adequate. That uniquely British designation meaning not good, but sufficient for purpose. The food range pushed boundaries of taste and legality. Woolworths Cola, with packaging suspiciously similar to Coca-Cola, until threatened legal action forced changes, contained sugar levels that would horrify modern nutritionists. Their biscuit selection, produced in factories across northern England, used enough artificial colouring to be visible from space. The sweets range included combinations that defied logic: coconut mushrooms, shrimp-flavoured snacks, and aniseed balls that could crack teeth. These products weren't sophisticated, but they were affordable, allowing families to fill cupboards without emptying wallets. The brand loyalty was remarkable. Customers actively chose Woolworths versions despite knowing superior alternatives existed. Not every branch had cafes, but those that did offered unique gastronomic experiences where cuisine met catastrophe. The menu, unchanged since the mid-1970s, offered beans on toast, 45p, egg and chips, 75p, and soup of the day, which was always tomato. The coffee was instant, the tea was stewed, and the orange squash glowed with radioactive intensity. Formica tables, burgundy seats, and strip lighting created ambience that actively discouraged lingering. The staff, invariably mature ladies named Maureen or Dorothy, knew everyone's usual order and possessed opinions about everything from politics to your choice of boyfriend. They wielded industrial tea urns like weapons and could butter toast at speeds defying physics. The hygiene standards were flexible. The same cloth wiped tables, counters and occasionally floors, yet nobody complained because prices remained frozen throughout the decade, and where else could pensioners enjoy tea and gossip for 20 pence? The cafes weren't profitable but were considered essential for community relations, providing warm spaces for elderly customers and harassed mothers. Before DIY superstores dominated, Woolworths' hardware department supplied Britain's bodging needs. Nothing was professional quality, but everything was adequate for hanging pictures, fixing dripping taps, or temporary repairs lasting until proper tradesmen arrived. The key-cutting service, operated by men who'd performed the task since decimalisation, produced keys that worked approximately 70% of the time. At 50 pence each, customers simply had multiple copies cut. The tool selection ranged from hammers that loosened with each strike to screwdrivers that stripped after 3 uses. Paintbrushes shed bristles enthusiastically, ensuring every painted surface contained hairy reminders of their origin. Yet these tools built garden sheds, decorated countless homes, and fixed innumerable household problems. The staff, usually older men with encyclopedic knowledge and strong opinions, offered advice ranging from genuinely helpful to creatively fictional. Light bulbs, fuses and plugs occupied vast walls, with helpful staff explaining electrical repairs that definitely violated safety regulations. This department epitomised Woolworths' philosophy. Good enough was perfectly acceptable. The greeting card sections sprawled across entire walls, organised by occasion, relationship and sentiment level. Woolworths sold millions of cards annually, offering everything from sickeningly sweet verses to barely disguised innuendo. The humorous section, positioned high enough to prevent children reading them, featured seaside postcard humour that wouldn't survive modern sensibilities. Cards cost between 15 pence and 99 pence, with most around 35 pence, cheap enough to buy several just in case. The verses inside ranged from generically mysterious to someone special on your special day, to specifically awful poetry that would embarrass greeting card writers today. Yet these cards marked every significant moment in British lives throughout the decade. The wrapping paper selection, displayed on massive rolls cut to order, offered designs unchanged since 1975. Birthday badges declaring ages from 1 to 100 became competitive displays in schools. What made this section special wasn't quality, but completeness. Whatever the occasion, relationship or budget, Woolworths had an appropriate card, even if appropriate was negotiable. The pet section existed in regulatory grey areas that would horrify modern animal welfare advocates. Goldfish swam in tanks that hadn't seen proper maintenance since purchase. Hamsters lived in cages now considered criminally small, and budgies learned colourful vocabulary from passing customers. Staff received no animal care training, creating advice from personal experience, guesswork, and occasional reference to a dusty manual from 1972. Despite questionable welfare standards, millions of British children's first pets originated here. Those goldfish that survived the journey home in plastic bags, mortality rate significant, often lived years. Hamsters, invariably named Hammy, escaped within days but provided valuable lessons about responsibility and loss. The pet food selection was limited, mysterious brands that pets either devoured or completely ignored. Accessories were basic, plastic wheels that squeaked incessantly, water bottles that leaked immediately, and toys that were definitely choking hazards. Yet these pets taught empathy, responsibility, and basic biology to generations. The Saturday morning goldfish selection ritual, where children chose the pretty one while parents prayed for longevity, became family tradition. The original discount retailer Woolworths invented British discount retail through their nothing over £5 policy, raised to £10 in 1986. This wasn't just pricing, but psychology. Customers entered knowing everything was affordable. Larger items were creatively divided into components that coincidentally each cost £4.99. The January sales were legendary events where Christmas stock was reduced by up to 75%, causing queues from 6 a.m, despite stores opening at 9. Yellow reduction stickers were applied with enthusiasm by staff who'd clearly stopped caring about profit margins. Easter eggs appeared in November, summer toys in February, and Christmas decorations in July, all at prices that defied economic logic. The WOW offers, introduced in 1987, featured loss leaders designed to drive footfall, 1p rulers at back to school, 10p selection boxes after Christmas. Former managers admit these promotions lost money but created customer loyalty worth more than immediate profit. The pricing psychology was sophisticated. Items priced at 99p seemed bargains compared to £1, though the difference was negligible. This model influenced every subsequent British discount retailer. Every Woolworths possessed an identical, unmistakable aroma. A complex bouquet combining pick and mix sweetness, new plastic from toys, elderly carpet, and something indefinably chemical. This wasn't accidental but resulted from identical cleaning products, similar merchandise, and standardized flooring across all stores. The vinyl floor tiles, manufactured by a company in Warrington, released a specific odor when mopped with the regulation cleaning fluid. Former customers report powerful scent-triggered memories. Opening new felt tips, cheap chocolate melting slightly under hot lights, or fresh plastic packaging can transport people instantly to 1985. The pick and mix contributed vanilla and sugar notes, while the hardware section added oil and metal. The clothing department's contribution was mothballs and sizing from new garments. Seasonal variations occurred. December brought pine disinfectant attempting to smell festive, while summer introduced plastic beach toy off-gassing. This olfactory signature was so distinctive that property developers reported the smell lingering in buildings years after closure, requiring specialized treatment to remove. Woolworths transcended retail to become social infrastructure. Saturday morning visits were ritual. Children in toy departments while parents shopped, teenagers loitering near music sections, and pensioners meeting friends in cafes. Sociologists studying British high streets identified Woolworths as a third space, neither home nor work but essential for community cohesion. The democratic nature meant all social classes mingled, creating unexpected connections. The Saturday job at Woolworths was a teenage rite of passage, teaching work ethic, customer service, and patience with difficult people. Former employees described chaotic but caring environments where managers bent rules for struggling families. Staff contributed to collections for colleagues facing hardship, and everyone knew everyone else's business. Store detectives, usually ex-police called Big Ron or similar, spent more time chatting than catching shoplifters, knowing that community relationships prevented more theft than prosecutions. Local schools used stores for work experience, training generations in retail basics. When stores closed in 2008, communities lost more than shopping. They lost gathering places that had defined British life for generations. When those 807 stores closed between December 2008 and January 2009, Britain lost more than retail. We lost democratic spaces where everyone belonged. Modern retail's algorithmic sterility lacks Woolworths' beautiful chaos. Final call to action. If these memories resonated, subscribe now and hit the notification bell. Share your favourite Woolworths memory below. Which department was your first stop? What product do you desperately miss? Let's keep these memories alive together because they're worth more than money could buy. Until next time, remember, life was better with pick and mix.